recording.
There it is.
Oh, I'm actually guess I'm not up to date.
Drum roll. We have a drum roll.
They've reduced the time we have to wait.
Drum roll.
Critical corruption.
Oh, nice. Jesus Christ, that thing looks horrifying. Critical corruption. And it's like a weird purpley red colour font.
Looks good. Oh my god. Shit.
Alright, so yeah, the other two dwarfs
Yeah,
were just
we-
covered, and they are foaming up
That's
the
sick.
creature.
That's actually good. That's sick.
This is what it be.
That's one of the things I wanted.
Yeah.
It's also, I think it can move. Like, look at that. It's like out the ground. It's like, you know, it's like got legs.
I think it might be like the exact thing that I mentioned when I saw this, that it's like just a huge entity that's just roaming around the cave, and you have to kind of
In-depth analysis.
fight. I think
No spoilers,
there
please.
isn't a
Let's
universe.
pause
Either
it.
this is like a Betsy tier, not Betsy tier. I mean that's who was selling it, but like a boss type event, or a new game mode. That's really all it could be. Like, you're not just going to casually get this
I think what's
guy.
interesting, because I think the Corlock and the Betsy are above the Nemesis in a lot of ways, in that they are actual like full-on boss fights, and that you could consider that like a pretty significant piece of content if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And it depends on how you present it in game. But if it is a random boss fight, but still an actual boss fight, that is like sort of like still a better version of what Season 2 did. Still.
Yeah.
It's also, I guess, I don't know what to touch on first. There's only really two main things to touch on, with sort of a couple sort of elaborations beyond that. I suppose it really only shows what the thing is in that sense. But okay, title.
Yeah. Title.
Critical corruption, and which is cool. I like the colours that they've used there, and it's just not having plague in the name is telling to me.
Yeah.
Because maybe not telling. It's just I was hoping that they wouldn't, even though I thought there's still a weird chance that they might, and it would be really stupid if they did, because I thought that was at least the one thing they were going to avoid, was calling it like, you know, like Plague Vice. We had a good idea for what they would call it if it was that, but they got a different name. But I don't know if it is telling in any way. You know, what can you take critical corruption to mean? Like the critical part. What can you really take that to mean? I don't know, but. The thing itself, I'm going to call boss only because I think they want it to be more than just Nemesis. So it's definitely boss, and that means you could have a game type surrounding it. And I'd love to, because it's clear. I think it is clearly mobile, right? Do you agree?
Yeah,
Like, I think
it's
uprooted out of the ground. Like it's like got
I think
a
it's
lot
like a
of roots,
giant
but-
type boss.
Yeah.
That's like going to be like lumbering around the caves. It feels like. At least I hope it is. That'd be sick, and it's something that they haven't quite done yet. Normally, if it gets bigger, it becomes stationary, right? That tends to be a rule of thumb, and this looks like it might break that rule.
I would love that.
Which,
That's awesome.
I really hope it does.
It's
But yeah, the
also-
fact that the Lithophoma and the Vac is probably going to be how you kill it is also going to make it like step up in like, I don't know, intrigue at the very least.
Well, this is what I mean. You know, when I saw they were doing more rock parks, I can't say I wasn't a little bit concerned, right? I just wanted to make sure they were going to take the right steps to make sure it actually felt like they were. It's not just doing more to rock pox, it's actually doing more with what Season 3 introduced, right? And not leaving the Lithovac and Lithophone behind is a good sign. They're in play in a new way, right? And I think that's actually pretty neat. Just, I just think that's pretty cool. And using it against a boss is something. I don't know if maybe I don't know if that has anything to do with us. I don't know if that has anything to do.
Well, as mentioned though, it felt like it was just a reasonable next step. Like what Rockpox needed was a boss type enemy, and then it would basically kind of have something in every slot. Like generally, preferably something that would spice it up, which I think is what the Goon Bomb is going to do. It's going to be the spicier Rockpox, other than the boss, obviously. But I think I don't know. That's pretty damn high.
And obviously, Todd, obviously, I mean, it wasn't hard to guess, but I wasn't exactly right about what they were going to show today.
Yeah,
I 100%.
Well, you said title. Did you think
I said
both?
title and full key art. Yeah, I said they would like reveal everything. I still want to talk about it though, in the sense that it's like you can't just. what I hope, and this doesn't guarantee it. I mean, nothing we're seeing guarantees this. I hope that it's obviously I've talked about possibly this being sort of an inverse of like the season 1 to 2, right? Obviously, it's not going to be season 1 level of content. But what I mean is it going to feel like the Rockbox has actually stepped up instead of stepping down? That was never a good way for it to go from season 1 to season 2, because the point of season 2 was like rival escalation. It didn't feel like that because they didn't really have the means to deliver on that narrative, so it was purely just about the content, and the content was lesser. So it really just felt like the rivals were actually stepping down. If they can at least deliver on it feeling the other way around, then they've done a good thing there.
Which it looks like it, right? You've got to admit that being looks like an escalation.
It doesn't, obviously it is Rockbox, but it doesn't look like the most Rockbox thing in the world. We haven't seen
It looks like
it could be, but it's obviously like almost like a pure Rockbox entity, unless it is something else.
It's not a Rockbox reskin, let's call them, right? It's not an enemy with the Rockbox put on it. And even though the lava technically isn't that, well, not lava, the parasites, which are like carnivorous lava, is kind of even then just a skin, even though not technically. But this will be the first original Rockbox enemy, where like it looks like from the ground up. It's designed on its own, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and that's what I think. Once again, it reminds me of just the Flood from Halo. They infect things. They've got all that zombie shit going on, but there's also they have pure forms, which still come from things that have been infected, but they get to the point where it's the entire creature is like flood material, and that's sort of what I'm thinking. So it could still be based on something, because honestly, considering how much of a creature it is, right? We sort of theorized that maybe it's just a fully grown plague, like contagion spike. Then it probably wouldn't have been like a creature as much, or at least I wouldn't. I don't know. Like obviously, it does look like Rockbox in a lot of ways, but it doesn't look like it's like a contagion spike that's growing up either. To me, I don't know if you feel the same. It looks so
just
different
looks like just
to them.
A mass of rock and Rockbox just kind of built itself, essentially.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of formed. And the form it took is some ugly thing. You do have it on screen still, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've made sure of that. That was something.
Yeah.
I'll be fair to the guy who meant to point that out last time. We should have kept it on screen. Okay, so we got all that. The only other thing to touch on is, of course, the date. Yeah.
Which
well, no, because we did know it's June 15th. This counts as the official announcement. I think there's probably still a fair few people who didn't catch it, especially if they don't go on any of the like forums, like Reddit or Discord. They might not have known.
Yeah, but
June 15th.
It's known now.
But how do they know it's gonna? Because I thought that how it worked with console, they had to get it through this sort of like I guess checking process, basically. Like how do they?
They
know?
might just be doing it earlier.
I fucking hope so.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
which I think
nice,
it might
actually
mean that we might get the experimental branch slightly earlier. They might have been saying that beforehand, because as mentioned, they were talking for a while before they released the teaser.
Hey, look, man, if you want to do it a week early, it's fine by me.
Yeah. Well, they already are. We instead of waiting 2 weeks, we're now 1 week.
I mean, yeah, for us
consoles,
to get it. I mean, I literally mean for the experimental branch, because if it isn't a week early, then I'll be on holiday at the time. That's what I mean.
That's true.
Yeah,
but yeah. So
obviously, it doesn't tell us everything. Well, I kept seeing like things like people that made like enhanced. They like enhance the image to like see the thing that was obscured better. Obviously, being this monstrosity. And it was like, yeah, you got more of the shape, but it didn't really matter all that much. What really matters is what it actually is. Like a silhouette can only tell you so much. You don't see the, like, we could have had the full silhouette. You wouldn't have seen that mouth. You wouldn't have seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we realised that maybe they were hiding the other dwarves because they had another power up. Not that I wouldn't consider the Lithophome and Lithovac the same type of equipment as the rocket boots. And
yeah, well, I
being
think
used
that
against
kind of
the boss
reinforce
is
that.
a big point. And I'm really glad about that.
That is my main theory, that it's not going to be a universal thing, and it's just going to be like to fight this boss. Well, no, I just realized it's to use the Lithovac and Foma to attack it. You need the hover boots. right? That's what it's for. Because you cannot only really like gunner and engineer can use their traversal tools, like I mean not use, like have it ready to use, and like attack at the same time. Like scout and driller wouldn't be able to move around and shoot at the same time, or they get silence and signature on that. So they needed you to basically be like versatile and be able to like foam and things. So I genuinely think that this is a boss with a game mode, and in this game mode there is the
It is
boom
literally
thing.
because it's so
They
tall,
might add
isn't
it in other ones, right? I think it would be a good shout to just throw it into the normal pool as well. But you will guarantee in that mission, I think is how I'm picturing it at the moment.
Well, Tyler, I mean, look, okay, I don't want to jump the gun here, but because obviously, if they do a mission type as well, if this is stored inside a mission type, then we've really got to pat ourselves on the back. I think I can't say we really predicted that. It was just kind of one of your ideas. A mission type, a Rockpox mission type with a Rockpox boss in it, and that you would at least in part use the Lithofac and Foma against. So.
Yeah.
And I hope it's that, because if it is that, then that paves the way for the boss to be more like a dreadnought. Therefore, you could get it in other missions, but as a swarm type, like the dreadnoughts. That's what I would absolutely. And even if it's not that, yeah, even if it's not a mission type, I would still hope that's how they implement it, like as a swarm. You get an announcement or something. I'd love that instead of you just finding it. You could maybe have both, although I don't know how. I'm just saying I don't want it to be. That's another way they could differentiate it from the Nemesis, though. You know, if you knew it was coming and you get that announcement and that like boss music as well. As in,
Yeah.
obviously we've talked about how certain things deserve music, especially all the different bosses, even like different like swarm types, especially for like the robots or the rockpox. This thing would, you would love new music, but this thing would suit the Dreadnought tracks. I think you could get away with that. So I hope they do that, maybe even.
Yeah.
I don't know,
At
but there's
the
not.
very least.
I don't think. There's
But once
much
again,
more
I
we can
think
get.
people feel like there is like a light implication that we might get some new music. Like there's been like a couple tracks that people can't place
I
that
think
they've been
someone.
using in these
I
trailers.
think someone did for like all of them though.
Really?
Yeah, it's only because people don't pay attention to the ambient tracks that much, and there's some like little parts of the ambient tracks that are like different to the rest, but you just don't really notice. I wouldn't just completely write it off, but I'm definitely not expecting that. To be honest.
Well, my thing as well is that I'm pretty sure the guy that did the soundtrack, he recently like because he's in a band, I think, or he does a thing, and I think he recently did an album, so he was technically now kind of done, and like he would be available to hire, I assume.
They also wouldn't. I don't think they would also be too public about that either. I think they would actually want to keep that like close to the chest if they had him in studio making new music. I don't think that's something
Yeah.
they won't announce like that he's back until like the new music is like ready to come out or whatever. Anyway, there it is. That's the full key art.
Yeah.
Honestly, pretty cool. Looks a lot cooler than season 3. It is Critical Corruption coming June 15th, June 22nd on console. Thank God. Because obviously I remember those waits though. The 2-week wait. It's like you don't think it's going to be that bad, but it is once you get past the first week. Like. And it's like, or at least maybe like I don't know, like day 6 is just because once you get past the first week, then you're like maybe you're 10 days in. It's like okay, it's only 4 days away. But once you get to like day 6 and you realise that it's not tomorrow, it's like oh fuck. But in this case, it will be tomorrow on the 6th day.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all of
Thank you
that.
for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Penis hole.